The dust never settled on Creo 7. Tai Yang had learned that in his first week on this miserable frontier planet. Red dust floated in the air constantly, getting into every piece of equipment, every vehicle, every breath. He coughed into his sleeve as he climbed over another pile of twisted metal. The battlefield stretched for kilometers. Broken ships, shattered armor, and scorched earth marked where the machine swarms had attacked 3 days ago. Taeyang's squad had been wiped out in the ambush. He survived only because his transport broke down 2 kilometers back. Sometimes being the engineer who fixed everything meant you got left behind. This time it saved his life. His scanner beeped. Large metallic signature ahead, partially buried in the canyon wall. Taeyang adjusted his toolkit and moved carefully forward. Could be salvage, could be unexploded ordnance, could be a machine trap. On Creo 7, nothing was safe. The ship revealed itself slowly as he descended into the canyon. Massive, elegant, crimson armor plating with gold trim. Definitely not human design. The hull bore markings he recognized from briefings. Valthuris Empire. Humanity's uncertain allies against the machines. Uncertain because the Valtharis were warriors first, allies second, and they made that difference very clear. The entry hatch hung open, torn from its hinges. Taeyang drew his sidearm and activated his helmet light. Inside, the ship was a tomb. Bodies of Valtharis warriors lay where they fell, still gripping their weapons. Each wore ornate armor, no 2 designs alike. He'd heard the armor was personal, earned through battle, almost sacred. He stepped carefully, respectfully around the dead. Emergency lights flickered deeper in the ship. Something still had power. Taeyang followed the lights through twisted corridors, past shattered bulkheads deeper into the vessel's heart. The air grew warmer. His scanner showed active energy signatures ahead. The command chamber was enormous, designed for someone much larger than a human. Tactical displays still projected holographic star maps, and there, slumped against the command throne, was her. She was huge, nearly 3 meters tall even sitting down. Her armor was magnificent, crimson plates edged with gold, covered in intricate patterns that seemed to tell stories. But the armor was damaged badly. Cracks spiderwebbed across the chest plate. Sparks sputtered from the shoulder joints. Dark blue blood pooled beneath her. Her eyes opened. They glowed amber in the darkness like a predator's. In one smooth motion, she had a blade at his throat. Not a physical blade, pure energy, humming inches from his skin. "State your purpose, human," she said. Her voice was rough, weak, but still commanding. The translator device on her collar turned her words into accented English. Taeyang slowly raised his hands, showing his tools. "Engineer, Terran Defense Coalition. I'm here to help." "Help," she laughed bitterly. The blade didn't move. "Your kind always wants to help, to take, to study. Your armor is failing," Taeyang said calmly. "Your ship has no power for life support. You're bleeding. I can stabilize you, but you need to let me." Her amber eyes studied him for a long moment. The blade lowered slightly. "Why would you help a Valtharis warrior?" "Because leaving someone to die when I can help feels wrong." He kept his voice steady. "Engineer's code. If it's broken, try to fix it." She lowered the blade completely. It vanished into her gauntlet. "I am Rin, warrior queen of the 7th Fleet. I do not require—" She stopped mid-sentence, her eyes rolling back. The chest plate sparked violently. Taeyang moved fast. He dropped beside her, toolkit already open. The chest plate's power core was visible through the cracks, pulsing erratically. He reached for it instinctively, knowing he had seconds before total failure. Her hand clamped around his wrist like an iron vise. Even dying, her strength was terrifying. Her eyes locked onto his, suddenly sharp and aware and burning with intensity. "Not there," she said through gritted teeth. "Never touch it, but the power core is never." She squeezed harder. He felt bones grind together. "That is sacred. That is law. Touch it and I will kill you with my last breath." She released him and collapsed again, unconscious this time. Taeyang pulled back his hand, looking at the bruises already forming on his wrist. The chest plate continued sparking. Whatever was in there, it was critical, and it was failing fast. He worked around it. Field medicine first. Seal the visible wounds, inject coagulants, stabilize her vital signs. His scanner showed her physiology was different, but not completely alien. The medical kit's universal settings seemed to work. Her breathing steadied slightly. Next, the armor. He traced the power systems carefully, finding secondary cores in the shoulder guards and thigh plates. He bypassed the damaged connections, rerouted power away from the chest plate to preserve whatever was there. It wasn't a real fix, just triage, but it stopped the sparking. As he worked, he heard sounds outside. Mechanical sounds. Grinding metal. Electronic chirping. Taeyang went cold. He knew those sounds. Machine scouts. He moved to the entry point and looked out carefully. 3 spider-like drones picked through the wreckage, sensors sweeping. They were searching for survivors to kill or technology to harvest. They hadn't found the ship yet, but they would. Taeyang had maybe 10 minutes. He ran back to Rin's position and started dragging her. She was incredibly heavy, even with the armor's passive support systems helping. He got her behind a fallen bulkhead that offered some cover, then grabbed his toolkit. The explosives in his kit were meant for demolition work, not combat. But engineers learned to improvise. He rigged 3 charges at the entry point, wired to a motion sensor. Simple but effective. The drones entered 6 minutes later. Taeyang watched from cover as they scuttled inside, sensors sweeping. The first drone tripped the sensor. The explosion was deafening in the enclosed space. Metal shrapnel tore through all 3 machines. They collapsed in sparking heaps, but the explosion would attract more. Taeyang knew that. He had minutes, maybe less. He checked Rin's vital signs again. Still stable, still unconscious. He couldn't move her far. Couldn't defend this position long-term, couldn't call for help because his communications were jammed. He was an engineer, not a soldier. He fixed things. He built things. But now he was responsible for keeping this alien warrior queen alive in the middle of enemy territory, with no support and no backup plan. Taeyang looked at Rin's face. Even unconscious, even injured, she looked fierce, proud, like someone who had never asked for help in her life and wouldn't thank him for giving it. Well, he muttered to himself. I've had worse assignments, that was a lie. He'd never had a worse assignment. But saying it out loud made him feel slightly better. He started building defenses from the wreckage, placing sensors, rigging more traps. The machines would come back. They always did. But he'd bought some time. Time to think. Time to plan. Time to figure out how to keep them both alive until morning. Outside, the red dust continued to swirl. The distant sound of explosions echoed across the wasteland. Somewhere out there, the war continued. But in this buried ship, in this moment, Taeyang's war was much smaller and much more personal. Keep the warrior queen alive. Don't touch the chest plate. Survive the night. Simple goals. Probably impossible. But Taeyang had built a career on achieving the impossible. He just hoped his luck would hold one more time. Dawn came slowly to Creo 7. Taeyang watched the red sun rise through the canyon rim, painting everything in shades of blood and rust. He hadn't slept. Couldn't afford to. 3 more drone attacks during the night, each one defeated by his improvised defenses. The entry point was now littered with destroyed machines. Behind him, he heard movement. He turned quickly, hand on his sidearm. Rin was awake. She sat upright, amber eyes fixed on him with an expression he couldn't read. Her gaze moved to the destroyed drones at the entry, then back to him. You defended me, she said. It wasn't a question. Yes. While I was helpless. Yes. She was silent for a long moment. Then she lowered her head slightly. Among the Valtharis, he'd learned, this was a gesture of respect. You followed the warrior's code. You protected the vulnerable. This is unexpected from a human. Taeyang shrugged. Just seemed like the right thing to do. Rin struggled to her feet. She swayed slightly and he moved to help her. She waved him off. I can stand. Your armor is still damaged, he said, checking his scanner. The chest plate is losing power. Whatever's in there won't last another day without repairs. Her expression hardened. I told you. That place is forbidden, I know. I didn't touch it. But no, she cut him off with finality. There is no but. The chest plate houses the Shalvara. It is sacred beyond your understanding. It contains my ancestors, my lineage, my soul. To touch it without permission is death. Taeyang held up his hands. Okay, I respect that. But we need to talk about getting you somewhere safe. My base is about 150 kilometers northeast. We can make it if we move carefully. Your base. Rin's mouth twisted. Where I will become a prisoner for study. Where you'll get medical treatment and actual armor technicians who know what they're doing. He met her eyes steadily. I'm just an engineer, Rin. I can patch things temporarily, but you need real help. She studied him for a long moment. Then she accessed her damaged translator, pulling up a holographic display. My fleet was ambushed here, she said, pointing to a star map. Coordinated machine attack. They knew our patrol routes, knew our weaknesses. We were slaughtered. I'm sorry. Do not apologize for what you did not cause. She enlarged the map. I am the last of my command. My people believe I am dead. The Valtharis do not send rescue missions for the dead. Then come with me. We'll send word that you survived. Rin laughed bitterly. And admit I was saved by a human? That I allowed a human to repair my armor? I would be shamed. Perhaps exiled. Better than dead. You do not understand Valtharis honor. No, Taeyang admitted. But I understand survival. And right now, survival means moving before more drones arrive. As if summoned by his words, his scanner chirped urgently. Multiple signals approaching. Large ones. Combat units, Rin said, reading her own scanner. 6 of them. We cannot fight 6 here. Then we run. Taeyang grabbed his gear. They moved quickly through the canyon system. Rin struggled at first, her damaged armor making movement difficult. Taeyang watched her compensate, adjusting her stride, redistributing weight. She was adapting in real time, pushing through pain and equipment failure through pure determination. The combat units found them in an open area between canyons. 6 spider tanks, each the size of a small vehicle armed with plasma cannons. They emerged from 3 directions, cutting off escape routes. They're hurting us, Rin said calmly. She drew her energy blade from her gauntlet. Even damaged, her armor responded. The blade hummed to life, glowing white-hot. I've got 2 grenades, Taeyang said. Maybe I can... Stay behind me, human. Rin moved forward. I am still a warrior queen. What happened next burned itself into Taeyang's memory forever. Rin moved like liquid death. She flowed between the combat units, her blade cutting through armor plating like paper. When they fired plasma bolts, she was already elsewhere. When they tried to surround her, she broke their formation. She fought with precision born from centuries of warrior tradition, every movement economical and deadly. But Taeyang saw what others might miss. Her left leg dragged slightly. Her blade flickered twice. She favored her right side, protecting the damaged chest plate. She was magnificent, but she was also failing. One combat unit got lucky. Its plasma cannon clipped her shoulder guard. Rin stumbled. Another unit aimed at her exposed back. Taeyang moved without thinking. He threw both grenades directly at the second unit's sensor cluster. The explosion blinded it. Its shot went wide. Rin recovered and destroyed both units in rapid succession. The remaining 4 machines retreated, assessing the threat. In that moment of hesitation, Rin grabbed Taeyang and ran. They made 3 kilometers before she had to stop. She leaned against a rock formation, breathing hard. Blue blood seeped from the shoulder wound. Stupid, she gasped. You could have been killed. So could you. Taeyang pulled out his medical kit. Let me seal that wound. She didn't argue this time. As he worked, he studied her armor more carefully. The power distribution was completely wrong. The chest plate drew minimal power now, but that meant other systems were overloading to compensate. I can rebalance your power systems, he said. Won't fix the chest plate, but it'll take strain off the other cores. Help you fight better. Rin was quiet for a long time. Then she nodded once. Do it. But you will work where I can see your hands. And if you touch the Shalvara, I will fulfill my oath to kill you. Understood. He worked carefully, constantly aware of her eyes, tracking his every movement. As he rerouted power conduits, he asked questions. About the armor. About Valtharis culture. About the war. She answered slowly at first, then more freely. He told her about human engineering philosophy, that broken things could not only be fixed but improved. We do not improve the sacred, Rin said. We preserve it exactly as it was given to us, even if preservation means death. She had no answer to that. As he finished the repairs, his hands came close to the chest plate's housing. He saw it more clearly now. Beneath the armor plating, something crystalline pulsed with faint bioluminescent light. It was beautiful, organic, alive in a way that machinery wasn't. The Shalvara, Rin said softly, seeing him looking. It contains genetic memories of my maternal line. Every warrior queen before me. Their knowledge. Their experiences. Their voices. When I fight, they guide me. When I decide, they counsel me. They are me, and I am them. And if it fails, then I am severed from my ancestors. I lose myself. I become nothing more than an individual lost and alone. Her voice held deep fear. That is a fate worse than death for my people. Taeyang understood then. The chest plate wasn't just armor or technology. It was her connection to her entire culture, her identity, her place in history. Touching it wasn't just violation. It was potential destruction of everything she was. He pulled his hands back and sealed the access panel. Powers rebalanced. Should help. Rin tested her movements. Her armor responded smoother, faster. She looked at him with something that might have been surprise. This is better. Much better. Good. Taeyang shouldered his pack. We've got a long way to go still. Rin nodded. Then unexpectedly she said, I will get us there, human. I have decided you are worth keeping alive. That's the nicest thing anyone said to me in weeks. Do not become accustomed to kindness. I'm still Valtharis. We do not coddle weakness, and I'm still human. We're stubborn about helping people. She actually smiled at that. Small, brief, but genuine. Then we shall see which trait proves stronger. Valtharis pride or human stubbornness. They set out together across the wasteland. Warrior, queen, and engineer, moving through a war zone toward uncertain safety. Behind them, more machines were surely coming. Ahead, the journey would test them both. But for now, they had an understanding. Fragile, complicated, built on mutual respect and desperate necessity. It would have to be enough. The wasteland tested them with every kilometer. Machine patrols hunted constantly. Automated artillery fired randomly across the landscape, and the environment itself seemed hostile. Dust storms that stripped visibility to zero, temperature swings from freezing nights to scorching days, terrain that collapsed without warning. Taeyang learned to read Rin's movements. When she slowed, he called for rest before she had to ask. When she shifted weight to her right leg, he planned routes that required less climbing. When her armor flickered, he found shelter quickly for emergency repairs. She never acknowledged these considerations, but she stopped arguing with his decisions. Rin taught him survival techniques from centuries of Valtharis warrior tradition. Which rock formations hid predators, how to read machine patrol patterns by the dust they disturbed, where to find water in seemingly dead terrain. She shared knowledge freely now, treating him less like a weak human and more like a companion. She never used the word friend, but Taeyang felt the shift. On the third day, they reached the ruins of an ancient settlement. Crumbling stone buildings half buried by red dust. Taeyang's scanner showed no active machines, so they entered carefully, looking for supplies or shelter. The attack came from everywhere at once. Machine units had been dormant, buried in the ruins, waiting. 20 or more, all activating simultaneously. Combat drones swarmed from the ground. Spider tanks emerged from collapsed buildings. And above, a hunter-killer aircraft descended, weapons charging. Run! Rin shouted, pushing Taeyang toward the intact building. She turned to face the swarm alone, blade blazing. But Taeyang didn't run. He saw the tactical situation clearly. The machines were using standard encirclement pattern alpha. He'd studied it in training. They'd herd Rin into the open, then the aircraft would finish her. He sprinted to a collapsed building with exposed power cables. Old settlement infrastructure still carrying charge. He worked frantically, stripping his toolkit, building a makeshift EMP device. Not powerful enough to destroy the machines, but maybe enough to disrupt them. Rin fought brilliantly. Her blade cut through drone after drone, but they kept coming. Her armor sparked. Her movement slowed. The chest plate flickered ominously. The hunter-killer aircraft fired. A plasma bolt lanced down. It should have killed her. Taeyang tackled her from the side. They crashed together behind a stone wall. The plasma bolt hit where she'd been standing, turning sand to glass. You fool, Rin shouted. You should have. The EMP device activated. Taeyang had thrown it into the middle of the swarm. The pulse wasn't strong, but in the confined ruins it bounced, amplified. Every machine unit stuttered. Sensors went dark. Targeting systems failed now. Taeyang yelled. While they're blind... Rin didn't hesitate. She moved through the disrupted swarm like a storm, destroying the confused machines. The hunter-killer aircraft, its systems rebooting, tried to retreat. Rin leaped, impossibly high, using her armor's strength enhancement, and drove her blade through its hull. It crashed in flames, silence fell. 20 machines lay destroyed. Rin stood among them, breathing hard, armor smoking. She turned to Taeyang. You saved my life. You saved mine first yesterday when that spider tank had me pinned. That was warrior's duty. This was foolishness. You are not a fighter. No, Taeyang agreed. But I understand patterns. Machine behavior. I knew their tactics. Rin walked to him slowly. She placed one armored hand on his shoulder. The weight was significant but gentle. You think differently than Valtharis. We see enemies to fight. You see patterns to disrupt. It is effective. We make a good team. Perhaps. She looked away. But a team requires trust. They found shelter in the most intact building and made camp. Rin's shoulder wound had reopened. Taeyang treated it while she sat silently, watching the sunset through a broken window. Tell me about the Shalvara, Taeyang said quietly. Really tell me. Not just what it does, what it means. Rin was silent for a long time. Then she began to speak. When a Valtharis girl first becomes a warrior, she receives an empty Shalvara crystal. Through her life, through her battles, through her victories and losses, it records everything. When she has daughters, the crystal copies a fragment to them. Thus each generation carries the memories of all mothers before. So you have memories from your mother? Your grandmother? From 3,000 years of warrior queens, Rin said softly. I remember battles fought before your species left its homeworld. I remember warriors who fought with primitive blades against creatures you cannot imagine. I know 50 languages, 100 fighting styles, 10,000 strategies. Not because I learned them, but because my ancestors did. Taeyang tried to comprehend that. That's incredible, but also overwhelming. It is burden and blessing both. Rin touched her chest plate gently. Sometimes their voices are so loud I cannot hear my own thoughts. Sometimes I do not know if a decision is mine or theirs. But I am never alone. Never lost. I carry my entire lineage with me. And if the Shalvara fails, then I am severed, alone, just Rin, not Rin, daughter of the warrior queens, just Rin. Her voice shook slightly. I have felt it. In the crash. When the power failed. For a moment the voices went silent. I was only me. It was terrifying. Taeyang looked at his scanner data on her armor. The chest plate was in critical condition. Power fluctuations worsened daily. She had maybe 2 days before total failure. Maybe less. I can fix it, he said quietly. No. Rin, listen. No human has ever touched a Shalvara. Ever. It is absolute law. Even thinking about it is blasphemy. Even if you'll die otherwise, she met his eyes. Even then, some things are worth dying for. But Taeyang saw fear in her eyes. Not fear of death. Fear of being alone. Of losing the voices that made her who she was. They traveled through the night to make up time. The base was 3 days away now. Maybe 2.5 if they pushed hard. The math was terrible. The chest plate would fail before they arrived. On the 4th day, exhaustion caught them. They found a deep cave system and collapsed into sleep, taking shifts on watch. When Taeyang woke for his turn, he found Rin sitting at the cave entrance staring at the stars. Can't sleep? He asked. The voices are restless. They sense the danger. What do they say? They argue. Some say to accept death with honor. Some say to break tradition to survive. Some say to trust you. Some say humans can never be trusted. She smiled sadly. Even my ancestors cannot agree. What does Rin say? Not your ancestors, you. She turned to look at him. In the starlight, her amber eyes seemed to glow. I say, I am tired of choosing between survival and honor. I wish there was a path that offered both. Maybe there is. Maybe honor isn't following the rules exactly. Maybe it's making the hard choices that keep your people alive. That is a very human perspective. Is it wrong? She didn't answer. Instead, she said, tell me about human culture. Your ancestors. How do you remember them? Taeyang talked about history books, photographs, stories passed down. About how humans preserved memory through records rather than genetics. About how each generation chose what to remember and what to forget. That sounds lonely, Rin said, to be so separate from those who came before. Sometimes, Taeyang admitted. But it also means we're free to make our own choices. Our own mistakes. We're not bound by the past. Freedom and loneliness. Perhaps they are the same thing. Dawn came too quickly. They moved on, pushing through the 5th day. The base appeared on the horizon that evening. A cluster of prefabricated buildings and defensive walls surrounded by sensor towers. Safety, medical care, help. But halfway through the final approach, Rin collapsed. Taeyang caught her before she hit the ground. Her armor had gone completely dark except for the chest plate, which flickered irregularly. Her breathing was shallow. Her skin had turned grayish-blue. No, 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 Taeyang muttered, checking her vital signs. Critical. Everything was critical. The chest plate was drawing so much emergency power that it was shutting down her armor's life support systems. The Shalvara was literally killing her to stay active. He had a choice. Carry her to the base and hope she survived the journey. Or stop here, open the chest plate, and risk violating her most sacred law to save her life. Taeyang looked at the base. 3 kilometers, maybe 90 minutes. She didn't have 90 minutes. He started working. His hands shook as he accessed the chest plate's emergency release. Every instinct screamed that he was wrong, that he was violating trust, that he should respect her wishes even if it killed her. But she'd also said her ancestors were arguing about trusting him. That some said to break tradition, that she was tired of choosing between survival and honor. Maybe he could give her both. If he was very, very lucky, and very, very good. The chest plate opened with a hiss of released pressure. Inside, the Shalvara crystal pulsed weakly, cracks spreading through its structure. It was the most beautiful and terrifying thing Taeyang had ever seen. He got to work, knowing he might be saving her life or destroying everything she was. Or both. The base light seemed very far away. Taeyang carried Rin through the base gates just as the sun rose. Guards rushed forward, weapons ready, then stopped in shock at the sight of the massive alien warrior draped across the human engineer's shoulders. He'd used every bit of emergency power from his gear to support her weight, and his legs trembled with exhaustion. "Medical emergency," he shouted. "Get doctors!" Both human and Valtharis. The base erupted into controlled chaos. Commander Hajun, a stern man with silver hair, arrived within minutes. Behind him came Nari, the Valthari's liaison officer, smaller than Rin but no less intimidating in her black armor. They carried Rin to the medical center. Human doctors and Valthari's healers crowded around, scanning her with equipment from both cultures. Taeyang tried to follow but nearly collapsed. Someone caught him, forced him to sit, pushed water into his hands. "Report," Hajun demanded, not unkindly. "Who is she?" "Rin, warrior queen of the 7th Fleet, sole survivor of the ambush 5 days ago. I found her in a crashed ship. We traveled together to get here." Nari pushed forward, her expression severe. "The 7th Fleet was destroyed. All crew confirmed dead. How does she live?" "I helped her. Medical aid. Armor repairs." "Repairs?" Nari's voice went cold. "What repairs? What did you touch?" "Everything except the chest plate, I swear." I knew it was forbidden. The medical staff worked frantically around Rin's unconscious form. Her armor's integration with her body made treatment complicated. They couldn't remove it without killing her, but they couldn't reach her injuries through it. Human doctors tried one approach. Balthara's healers tried another. Nothing worked. A human doctor approached Hajun. "Sir, we can't help her. The armor is too integrated. We need specialized Valthari's technicians." Nari spoke quietly into a communicator, then turned back. "The nearest armorsmith is 3 star systems away. Minimum 40 hours travel time." The head healer, a tall Valtharis woman, checked Rin's vital signs. Her face fell. "She has 12 hours. Perhaps less. The Shalvara is in cascade failure. It is drawing power from her life force to maintain itself." Taeyang stood abruptly. "I can fix it." Everyone turned to stare at him. "What did you say?" Nari's voice was dangerously quiet. "The Shalvara. The chest plate. I can repair it. I've studied the power systems. I understand the integration protocols. It's similar to quantum memory cores I've worked with. I can stabilize the crystal matrix if I—" "Absolutely not." Nari stepped between him and Rin. "No human will touch the Shalvara. It is sacred beyond your comprehension. It would be violation of the highest order. She'll die. Then she dies with honor intact." "That's insane." Taeyang looked to Hajun. "Sir, she's an ally. A warrior queen. We can't just let her die because of tradition." Hajun rubbed his face tiredly. "I understand your frustration, but we cannot force our values on another culture. If the Valtharis say it's forbidden, the Valtharis aren't here." "She is, and she's dying." A weak voice interrupted them. "Let him try." Rin's eyes were open, barely, clouded with pain. But aware, Nari rushed to her side. My queen, you do not know what you say. The Shalvara cannot be touched by humans, by anyone outside the armorsmiths. It is absolute law. I know the law. Rin's words came slowly. I also know I am dying. I have felt the cascade. The Shalvara is consuming me. Then die as a warrior should. With honor. I have seen this human work. Rin's eyes found Taeyang. I have watched his hands. He repairs with respect, with understanding. He does not seek to conquer or control. He seeks to preserve. But the law was made to protect the sacred. But what good is protecting the sacred if there is no one left to carry it? Rin coughed and blue blood flecked her lips. My ancestors whisper conflicting counsel. But I have decided. I give permission. Nari looked horrified. You cannot. The High Matriarchy would. The High Matriarchy is not here. I am. This is my Shalvara. My life, my choice. Rin's voice strengthened slightly. If I survive this, I will answer to them. If I do not, it will not matter. Hajun looked between them all, then nodded. I support the warrior queen's autonomy. She has the right to choose her fate. Nari stood rigid with anger. This is blasphemy. I will report this. The alliance will continue, Hajun said firmly, because we respect each other's right to make hard choices. Even when we disagree. Nari turned and left without another word, fury in every step. Taeyang approached Rin slowly. Are you sure? If I fail, you will not fail, Rin said. But he saw fear in her eyes. Not fear of death, fear of what might happen if he succeeded. You must work alone. No observers. No records. What you see in the Shalvara must never be spoken of. I understand. They cleared the medical center. Only Rin and Taeyang remained. He set up his tools carefully, hands still shaking slightly from exhaustion and fear. This was beyond anything he'd ever attempted. Rin watched him as he worked to open the chest plate fully. If you see my memories, she said quietly, do not judge me by them. My ancestors were warriors. We have done terrible things in the name of survival. We all have, Taeyang said. Every species. Every culture. We survive however we can. The chest plate opened fully. The Shalvara crystal lay exposed, a mass of biocrystalline structures pulsing with faint light. It was larger than Taeyang expected, about the size of his fist with thousands of tiny filaments connecting it to Rin's nervous system. And he could see the damage clearly now. 3 major connections severed. The crystal itself fractured in multiple places, power bleeding from every crack. As he leaned closer, something strange happened. Images flickered in the crystal's depths. Battles, faces, moments of triumph and terror. He saw Rin as a child receiving her first armor, saw her mother teaching her blade work, saw her grandmother leading a charge against impossible odds, saw warrior queens stretching back through centuries, all watching him through Rin's eyes. They see you, Rin whispered. My ancestors. They are curious, afraid, hopeful all at once. Taeyang swallowed hard. He was literally looking at someone's entire genetic memory, their connection to thousands of years of history. The responsibility was crushing, but he'd made a promise. And he was an engineer. He fixed things. He started with the severed connections. Human technology couldn't replicate Valthara's biocrystal growth, so he used what he had. Synthetic neural interfaces from his toolkit, modified to match the Shalvara's power signatures. He worked with microscopic precision, connecting human technology to alien biology, building bridges that should have been impossible. Hours passed. Taeyang forgot about exhaustion, hunger, everything except the delicate work before him. Each connection he made caused ripples in the crystal. Images would flash more vividly, Rin's memories becoming clearer, more accessible. Sometimes he saw things he shouldn't. Private moments, deep fears, warrior queen secrets. He looked away when he could, focused only on the technical work. The crystal's fractures were harder. He couldn't seal biocrystal, but he could support it. He used microfilaments to create internal bracing, spreading the stress across undamaged sections. It wasn't elegant, but it was functional, engineering at its finest. Finally, he reached the core power coupling. This was the critical moment. He needed to restart the Shalvara's power cycle. Without causing a surge that would destroy it entirely, he took a deep breath and activated the sequence. The crystal flared, bright, brilliant. Light filled the room. Taeyang shielded his eyes, terrified he'd made a catastrophic mistake. Then the light stabilized. The crystal pulsed steadily, powerfully, its rhythm matching Rin's heartbeat. The hybrid connections held. The bracing supported. Power flowed correctly through the system. Rin's eyes snapped open, but they weren't just amber anymore. They glowed with an inner light. When she spoke, her voice was layered, multiple voices speaking as one. The human has walked among the mothers. He has seen what is sacred. He has touched what is forbidden. The voices paused, and he has preserved rather than destroyed. He is witnessed. The glow faded. Rin's eyes returned to normal. She sat up slowly, testing her armor. Every system responded perfectly. Better than before. The chest plate sealed itself, accepting Taeyang's repairs as part of its structure. "You did it," she breathed. "I can hear them all clearly now." The cascade has stopped. "I am whole." Taeyang stumbled back, exhaustion hitting him all at once. "Good. That's good." Rin looked at him with an expression he'd never seen before. Profound gratitude mixed with something like awe. "You saved me. You saved my ancestors. You saved my future daughters who will carry these memories. I just fixed what was broken. You did more than that. You changed what is possible." She stood, her armor functioning perfectly. "Come, rest. You have earned it." As Taeyang finally allowed himself to collapse into sleep, his last thought was that he'd crossed a line today. Changed something fundamental between humans and Valtharis. Whether for better or worse, only time would tell. Outside, alarms began to sound. Long-range sensors had detected something massive entering orbit. The real battle was about to begin. Taeyang woke to the sound of sirens. He'd slept for maybe 3 hours. Not enough, but all they had time for. The briefing room was packed when he arrived. Human soldiers and Valtharis warriors crowded around holographic displays showing orbital scans. Commander Hajun stood at the center, his face grim. Long-range sensors confirm it. Machine swarm mothership. Mass approximately 2,000 tons. Current position in high orbit. Estimated forces, 200,000 combat units, someone swore. Another voice asked, "What are our numbers?" 3,000 total. 1,500 human troops, 1,500 Valtharis warriors, plus support staff. Hajun pulled up defensive positions. "We cannot win a direct fight. Evacuation is the recommended option." "Evacuation means abandoning the jump gate," a Valtharis officer said. "That gate is the only rapid transit point for 3 sectors. If the machines control it, they control everything." "I'm aware. But we cannot hold against those numbers." Rin entered the room. Everyone fell silent. Her armor gleamed, fully functional, every system operational. She moved with strength and confidence, showing no sign of how close to death she'd been hours ago. Nari was there too, standing apart from the group, her expression still angry. Rin studied the tactical display. "We can win this fight." Hajun looked at her skeptically. "With respect, Warrior Queen, the numbers are impossible. Numbers mean nothing if the enemy's coordination is disrupted." Rin expanded the display. 800 years ago, the Valtharis faced a similar swarm attack. We defeated them using resonance weapons, coordinated energy pulses that disrupted their communication networks. The machines collapsed into individual units, easy to destroy. "Do we have resonance weapons?" Ajun asked. "No, but we have Shalvara crystals. They can be linked to create the same effect." A Valtharis healer stepped forward. "Linking Shalvara requires multiple warrior queens to synchronize their crystals. It is dangerous, potentially fatal, and there are only 4 warrior queens on this base, you, Nari, Dasom, and Yunji. 4 is enough. The ancient records show victories with as few as 3. Rin turned to Nari. "I know you disapprove of what happened today, but I am asking you to stand with me now." Nari's jaw clenched. After a long moment, she said, "I will fight for my people, always, even alongside those who violate our laws." It was grudging acceptance, but it was enough. Taeyang spoke up. "I might be able to help. If you're creating an energy pulse, I can amplify it using the base's reactor and EMP technology. Make it stronger. Give it more range." Everyone turned to look at him. Several Valtharis warriors shifted uncomfortably. Rin nodded slowly. "This is possible, but it means you would need to interface with our Shalvara systems. Work with our most sacred technology." "I understand. And I understand if you don't want me to, but I'm offering." Hajun checked the time. "The mothership will be in bombardment position in 36 hours. If we're doing this, we need to start now. They assembled in the base's main engineering bay. Rin, Nari, and two other warrior queens, Dasam and Yunji. Dasam was older, her armor scarred from countless battles. Yunji was younger, barely into her warrior years. All of them looked uncertain about what they were about to do. Taeyang set up his equipment around them. I need to understand how your Shalvara crystals communicate, what frequency they operate on, how they synchronize. Dasam stepped forward. I will grant you access to my armor systems, if this will help us win. The work took hours. Taeyang discovered that Shalvara crystals communicated through bioelectric pulses that resonated with each other naturally. When warrior queens fought together, their crystals automatically synchronized slightly, allowing them to coordinate instinctively, to create a weapon-grade pulse. They needed perfect synchronization, every crystal pulsing at exactly the same frequency and phase. He built an interface device that could monitor all four crystals and adjust the base reactor to match their resonance. Human technology supporting alien biology. It was crude, experimental, possibly dangerous. It was also their only chance. We need to test it, Taeyang said. Small scale. See if the synchronization works. The four warrior queens took their positions, standing in a circle around Taeyang's device. They closed their eyes and reached out with their Shalvara, seeking each other. Taeyang watched on his monitors as the four crystals began pulsing together, slowly, unevenly, but definitely synchronizing. Then something went wrong. Yunji gasped and stumbled. Her armor sparked. Her Shalvara flickered wildly. What's happening? Hajun demanded. The synchronization is too much for her crystal, Taeyang said, checking readings. It's newer, less stable. The resonance is overwhelming it. Disconnect her, Rin ordered. If I do, we lose 25% of our power. The weapon might not work. Nari stepped forward. Then she dies so the rest of us can fire the weapon. That is the warrior's way. No. Taeyang was already moving, grabbing tools, running toward Yunji. There's another option. Yunji fell to her knees, armor smoking. Taeyang reached her and immediately started working on her chest plate. He could see the problem. Her Shalvara connections were newer, less developed, couldn't handle the power load. I can install bypass circuits, he said, working frantically. Redirect some of the resonance energy. Let her crystal synchronize at partial power instead of full. She'll contribute less to the weapon, but she'll survive. This requires touching her Shalvara, Rin said quietly. I know. Yunji, I need your permission. Yunji looked up at him, pain in her eyes. Then she nodded. Do it. Taeyang opened her chest plate. Her Shalvara was smaller than Rin's, its light more pink than blue. He worked quickly, installing modified circuits from his toolkit, creating pathways that would let her participate without being destroyed by the feedback. The bypass worked. Yunji's armor stabilized. She stood slowly, testing the connection. I can still feel the others. But the pressure is less, manageable. Good, Taeyang said. Now let's try again. Slowly this time. They practiced through the night, 4 warrior queens synchronizing their most sacred possessions, guided by a human engineer with jury-rigged equipment. It shouldn't have worked. By all traditions and expectations, it was impossible. But slowly, gradually, they achieved synchronization. All 4 crystals pulsing in perfect harmony. The power reading made Taeyang's equipment scream warnings. This much energy in one place was dangerous, unstable, beautiful. We have it, Rin said, her voice showing strain. But holding synchronization is exhausting. We can maintain it for perhaps 10 minutes. No more. 10 minutes should be enough, Hajun said. If your weapon works as expected. The base spent the next day preparing. Human troops reinforced defensive positions. Valtharis warriors performed battle rituals. Engineers worked around the clock building the amplification system. And Taeyang made countless adjustments to his resonance device, trying to make something impossible work reliably. He found Rin on the ramparts that evening, watching the sunset. She looked tired but determined. Thank you, she said without preamble, for saving my life, for saving Yunji, for believing this could work. Don't thank me yet. We still have to survive tomorrow. We will survive, or we will die gloriously trying. Either is acceptable for a warrior. She paused. My ancestors have been speaking to me. All of them, loudly. They are divided about you. I imagine some want me dead for touching the Shalvara. Yes, but others are curious, impressed even. You have shown us something new, that our sacred technology can work with yours. That our species can truly cooperate, not just coexist. She turned to face him. You have changed me, Taeyang. The Shalvara is the same, but I am different. I have learned that honor can exist outside tradition. That survival sometimes requires breaking the rules we thought were absolute. Your people won't all agree with that. No, some will call me corrupted, tainted by human influence. Perhaps they are right, she smiled slightly. But I am alive to be called these things. That matters. They stood in comfortable silence, watching the stars. Somewhere up there, a massive machine army prepared to destroy them. But for this moment, there was peace. If we survive this, Rin said, things will change between our peoples because of what we've done here. Are you ready for that? No, Taeyang admitted. But I'll handle it. Engineers are good at adapting, and warriors are good at fighting. She placed a hand on his shoulder. Then we shall face the future together, as allies, as friends. It was the first time she'd used that word. It felt significant. The alarm sounded at dawn. The mothership was moving into bombardment position. The battle was beginning. Rin and the other warrior queens took their positions around the resonance device. Taeyang initiated the power sequence. Human and Valtharis forces manned the defensive perimeter. The first wave of machines appeared on the horizon. Thousands of them. Hundreds of thousands. An impossible army marching toward 3,000 defenders. Here they come, Hajun said quietly. Then let us show them what we have built together. Rin replied. The last stand began. The machines came in waves like a metal tsunami. Combat drones filled the air. Spider tanks rumbled across the wasteland. Hunter-killer aircraft screamed overhead. They moved with perfect coordination, a single mind controlling 200,000 bodies. Human artillery opened fire first. Explosions blossomed across the advancing line. Dozens of machines fell. Hundreds. But thousands more filled the gaps. The swarm barely slowed. Valtharis warriors charged forward to meet them at the outer defensive line. Energy blades clashed with metal claws. Plasma rifles fired into mechanical masses. The warriors fought with incredible skill, each one worth 10 machines. But there were only 1,500 of them against an endless tide. Outer perimeter falling. A communications officer reported. Casualties mounting. Commander Hajun watched the tactical display with grim focus. Pull back to the second line. Controlled retreat. Make them pay for every meter. In the engineering bay, Taeyang monitored the 4 Shalvara crystals. Rin, Nari, Dasom, and Yunji stood in their circle, eyes closed, focusing on synchronization. The crystals pulsed together, growing brighter with each passing second. But the process was slow. They needed time. Time they didn't have. The second defensive line held for 20 minutes. Human and Valtharis forces fought side by side, covering each other's weaknesses. But the machines kept coming. They didn't tire, didn't fear, didn't stop. Then the mothership fired. The orbital bombardment cannon was designed to destroy cities. Its first shot vaporized the entire eastern defensive wall. Dozens of defenders died instantly. The shockwave threw others like toys. Taeyang felt the ground shake even underground in the engineering bay. Eastern section destroyed. Someone reported through static-filled communications. Machines pouring through the breach. Redirect all forces, Hajun ordered. Plug that gap. Taeyang checked his readings. The Shalvara crystals were at 60% synchronization. Not enough. They needed 95% minimum to fire the weapon. And they were running out of time. Outside, Valtharis warriors threw themselves into the breach. Dasum's daughter was among them, a young warrior fighting to give her mother time to complete the weapon. Taeyang watched through external cameras as she fought brilliantly, desperately until a combat drone's blade found her. In the engineering bay, Dasam gasped. Her eyes opened for just a moment, seeing something through the Shalvara. Seeing her daughter die. Then she closed her eyes again and continued synchronizing, her face wet with tears. That was the moment Taeyang truly understood what the Shalvara meant. Dasum would carry her daughter's death in her crystal forever. Every future daughter would know that ancestor died here. The memory would live on through generations. Grief became legacy, became history. Command post hit. Another report came. Commander Hajun down. Taeyang's heart sank. He switched cameras and saw the destroyed command center. Hajun was alive but injured badly, being dragged to medical by his staff. Nari's voice came through the communication system, calm despite the chaos. I am assuming command. All forces fall back to the final defensive line. Hold them there at any cost. The machines pushed forward relentlessly. The final defensive line was just outside the engineering bay. If it fell, the synchronization would be interrupted. The weapon would fail. They would all die. Taeyang watched the synchronization meter. 70%, 75, too slow, too slow. Then Yunji's armor sparked violently. She cried out in pain. Her Shalvara connection was failing again, just like in testing. I'm losing her, Taeyang said. The power load is too much. I need to disconnect her or she'll die. Rin's voice, strained with effort, came through. If you disconnect her, we lose the weapon power. We cannot fire at 95% with only 3 crystals. Taeyang looked at the tactical display. The final defensive line was buckling. Hundreds of machines pressed forward. The mothership was charging its cannon again. Another shot would destroy the entire base. He had seconds to decide. Let Yunji die to keep the weapon strong, or save her and risk the weapon failing. No, Taeyang said. No one gets left behind. He grabbed his tools and ran to Yunji's position. Plasma fire from outside rattled the building. The walls shook from nearby explosions. He blocked it all out and focused on her chest plate. The problem was worse than before. The resonance feedback was literally burning her Shalvara connections. He needed to redirect more power, create better bypasses, stabilize her crystal before it shattered completely. His hands moved faster than thought, making connections he'd practiced 100 times, routing energy through circuits designed on the fly. Human engineering meeting alien biology in desperate improvisation. Yunji's armor stopped sparking. Her breathing steadied. The Shalvara connection stabilized at partial power. Taeyang checked his monitors. Synchronization was holding. 85%. 90%. Still rising. It was working, but the tactical display showed the final defensive line breaking. Machines were inside the base perimeter. 50 meters from the engineering bay. 30 meters. We need more time, Taeyang shouted. Time we do not have, Nari's voice responded. Fire the weapon now or not at all. We're only at 93%. It might not be enough to fire it. Taeyang looked at the 4 warrior queens. They stood with eyes closed, completely vulnerable, lost in the synchronization. They trusted him to make this work, to achieve the impossible one more time. He activated the amplification sequence. The base reactor surged. Power flooded through Taeyang's jury-rigged systems into the 4 Shalvara crystals. The crystals flared like stars, their combined light filling the bay. The resonance pulse built rapidly, climbing toward firing threshold. But something was wrong. The synchronization was wavering. 93% wasn't enough for stable firing. The pulse was fluctuating. If he fired now, it might work. Or it might tear all 4 Shalvara crystals apart, killing the warrior queens instantly. Rin opened her eyes. She looked directly at Taeyang and spoke with complete certainty. We trust you. Do what is necessary, Taeyang understood. She was giving him permission to risk their lives, to push them beyond safe limits, because safe limits meant everyone died anyway. He opened the power limiters all the way. I need you to go deeper. Complete synchronization. Hold nothing back. That is dangerous, Daesam said, her voice strained. To synchronize completely means opening our Shalvara fully to each other. We will carry each other's memories forever. We will be permanently linked, I know. I'm sorry. But it's the only way. The 4 warrior queens looked at each other. An entire conversation passed between them in seconds. Then as one they nodded. They opened their Shalvara completely. No barriers. No protection. Complete vulnerability. Taeyang's monitors showed synchronization jump to 98%, 99%, 100%. The power reading went off the scale. The resonance pulse was perfect, stable, devastating, firing now. Taeyang shouted. He triggered the release. The combined power of 4 Shalvara crystals, amplified by human technology in the base reactor, erupted outward in a single directed pulse. A column of light shot from the engineering bay into the sky. It was beautiful and terrible, a mixture of bioelectric blue and human white energy spiraling together. The pulse expanded outward in a sphere, moving at the speed of light, washing across the battlefield. Every machine unit it touched froze instantly, their coordination network severed, their shared intelligence shattered. 200,000 machines became 200,000 individual units with no orders, no purpose, no direction. The pulse continued upward through the atmosphere, expanding as it climbed. It reached the mothership in orbit and tore through its hull like paper. The massive vessel's core reactor, hit by the resonance wave, went critical. The mothership exploded in a flash brighter than the sun. Debris scattered across the sky, burning up in the atmosphere. Shockwaves rippled through space. On the ground, the disconnected machines simply stopped. Some froze in place, some fell. Some exploded as their power systems overloaded without central coordination. Within seconds, 200,000 enemies became 200,000 pieces of scrap metal. Silence fell across the battlefield. The only sounds were fires burning and wounded soldiers crying out for help. In the engineering bay, the 4 warrior queens collapsed. Their armor smoked from the incredible power discharge. Taeyang rushed to them, frantically checking vital signs. All 4 were alive. Barely. Exhausted, but alive. Rin opened her eyes slowly. When she spoke, her voice was different, layered, multiple tones speaking as one. We are changed. I can feel Nari's thoughts. Daesum's grief. Yunji's fear. They are part of me now, forever. Nari stirred, her voice also layered. And I feel you all. Your memories. Your ancestors. Thousands of years flowing together. This was not intended, Daesum said softly. We are 4 lineages now merged into one stream. What have we become? Yunji opened her eyes last. The youngest warrior queen looked around at the others with wonder and fear. I can hear so many voices. Not just my mother's. All our mothers. They helped each other stand. When they looked at each other, something passed between them. Not words. Deeper than words. They were individuals still, but also connected in a way that no Valtharis had been before. Taeyang watched them, hoping he'd made the right choice, hoping that saving them hadn't destroyed what made them who they were. Rin turned to him. When she spoke, it was only 2 weeks past before the summons came. 2 weeks of recovery, rebuilding, and watching the news spread across both human and Valtharis territories. The story of the battle, the impossible weapon, the synchronized Shalvara, and the human engineer who touched what was sacred. Reactions were mixed. Some called them heroes. Others called them traitors to tradition. The debate raged in council chambers, news feeds, and military briefings across dozens of worlds. Rin spent those weeks adapting to her new reality. The permanent link between the 4 warrior queens was unlike anything in Valtharis history. They could sense each other's emotions now, even across distances. Sometimes they spoke in unison without meaning to. Sometimes they shared dreams. It was strange and uncomfortable and powerful. Taeyang worked with Valthari scientists to understand what had happened during the full synchronization. They discovered that the Shalvara crystals had evolved, incorporating elements of human technology into their structure. The bypass circuits he'd installed hadn't been temporary. They'd been accepted by the crystals as permanent enhancements. The Shalvara had adapted, changed, grown. Then the message arrived. The Valthari's High Matriarchy demanded Rin's presence aboard the world ship Eternal Crown to answer for her actions. And they demanded Taeyang come too. They will judge us, Rin said as they prepared to depart. Perhaps exile us. Perhaps execute us for blasphemy. Cheerful thought, Taeyang replied, packing his toolkit. Do they actually execute people? When tradition is violated severely enough, yes. Nari approached them at the shuttle. She had been cold to Taeyang since the battle, barely speaking to him. But now she looked different, thoughtful rather than angry. I'm coming with you, she said. I will speak at the trial. Against us? Rin asked. I have not decided, but I will speak truth, whatever that may be. Nari looked at Taeyang directly. You forced me to question everything I believed. I hate you for that, but I cannot deny that we survived because of what you did. It wasn't forgiveness, but it was acknowledgement. That was something. The journey to the Eternal Crown took 3 days through jump gates. The world ship was massive, a city in space carrying tens of thousands of Valtharis. Its armor was ancient, covered in marks from battles spanning millennia. Taeyang felt very small approaching it. The High Matriarchy's council chamber was enormous and intimidating. 7 warrior queens sat in judgment, each ancient, each wearing armor that had seen centuries of war. Their Shalvara crystals glowed visibly through their chest plates, pulsing with the memories of countless generations. The central matriarch, eldest of them all, spoke first. Her voice was strong despite her age. "Rin, daughter of the warrior line, you stand accused of permitting a human to touch the Shalvara, of violating the oldest laws, of corrupting sacred technology. How do you answer?" Rin stood straight, proud, unafraid. "I do not deny what I did. I gave permission for Taeyang to repair my Shalvara, because the alternative was death. I chose survival over tradition. Survival at any cost is not warrior behavior. Sometimes death is preferable to dishonor. Then I am dishonored, but I am alive to accept that judgment." Murmurs ran through the audience chamber. Many Valtharis warriors watched the trial, opinions clearly divided. The matriarch gestured to Taeyang. "And you, human, you touched what was forbidden. You altered technology you do not understand. You showed no respect for our sacred laws." Taeyang stepped forward, heart pounding. "With respect, matriarch, I did understand. Maybe not completely, but I understood what the Shalvara meant to Rin, to your people. I saw the memories it carried, the ancestors watching through the crystal. Then you understood you were committing blasphemy. I understood I was trying to preserve something precious, to save a life and everything that life carried forward." Taeyang met her eyes steadily. "I'm an engineer. I fix things. But I also know that fixing requires respect. I didn't try to control the Shalvara or change what it was. I just helped it survive." Another matriarch spoke. "Yet you did change it. The reports say your human technology is now permanently integrated with 4 Shalvara crystals. You have contaminated our most sacred heritage." Daesam stepped forward unexpectedly. "May I speak?" The matriarchs conferred quietly, then nodded. Daesam approached the judgment platform. "I lost my daughter in the battle. She died defending the base while I synchronized the weapon. I carry her death now in my Shalvara. And because of the permanent link between the 4 of us, Rin, Nari, and Yunji carry her too. 4 lineages will remember her sacrifice instead of 1. She paused, gathering her thoughts. "The human technology did not contaminate our Shalvara. It enhanced our ability to share memories across lineages. My daughter lives on more fully than any warrior before her. Is this not what the Shalvara was meant to do? To preserve and share our history?" Yunji spoke next. "I would have died without Taeyang's modifications. My Shalvara was too young, too weak for the full synchronization. The bypass circuits he installed saved my life and allowed me to contribute to the weapon. He gave me the chance to be a warrior, to have my own story in the crystal." Nari was last. She approached slowly, clearly struggling with what to say. "I have hated what happened. I believed it was wrong, against everything we stand for." She looked at Rin, at Taeyang. "But I cannot deny what I feel now. Through the link I carry memories not just from my own line, but from 3 other warrior queens. I know battle strategies I never learned. I understand weapons I never trained with. I am stronger because of this forced unity." She turned to the matriarchs. "Tradition exists to protect us. But Taeyang showed us that tradition without adaptation becomes a cage. Our ancestors, all the mothers in all the Shalvara, they were survivors. They adapted to every threat they faced. Are we honoring them by refusing to change? Or are we betraying their spirit?" The chamber fell silent. The 7 matriarchs conferred among themselves for several long minutes. Finally, the eldest spoke again. "You have broken our oldest law. You have altered the Shalvara. You have bound 4 lineages into one in a way never done before." Her expression was unreadable, and in doing so you have proven that our species can evolve without losing what makes us who we are. She stood, and the other matriarchs stood with her. "You are not exiled. You are not punished. Instead, you are recognized as something new. We create a new designation today, Shal Taeyang, Soul Bridge. Those warrior queens whose Shalvara have been enhanced through cooperation between species." Rin looked shocked. "You are accepting this?" "Accepting is not the same as celebrating. Many among our people will reject this, but we cannot deny that you saved thousands of lives using methods we would never have permitted. Sometimes survival requires doing what is uncomfortable." The matriarch looked at Taeyang. "You have shown us possibilities we did not know existed. Whether this is good or ill, time will reveal." The judgment was over, but the real work was beginning. In the following weeks, both human and Valthera's governments authorized a joint research program. The goal was to study the enhanced Shalvara and develop next-generation hybrid technologies, not to replace traditional Valthari's armor, but to offer options for warriors facing extinction-level threats. Taeyang was appointed lead human engineer. Rin became the program's Valtharis commander. Together they assembled a team of 50 human engineers and 50 Valtharis warriors, willing to explore this new frontier. The first training session was awkward. Human engineers tried to understand biocrystal technology. Valtharis warriors tried to accept humans working with their sacred armor. There were arguments, misunderstandings, cultural clashes, but slowly cooperation emerged. A human technician showed a Valthari smith how synthetic neural interfaces could strengthen crystal connections. A Valtharis warrior taught a human engineer the proper rituals for beginning armor work. Knowledge flowed both directions. Respect grew from understanding. One evening, Taeyang found Rin on an observation deck watching the stars. She looked more relaxed now than she had since the battle. "How are you adjusting?" he asked. "To the permanent link with the others?" "It is strange. I am never truly alone anymore. I can always sense them, distant but present." She smiled slightly. "But it is also comforting. We share our burdens, our fears, our hopes. Perhaps this is better than carrying everything alone. Your ancestors? What do they think?" "They are confused, curious, some are angry at the change. Others are fascinated by what we have become." She laughed softly. "Even in death they argue. It is very Valtharis." They stood in comfortable silence for a moment. Then Rin said, "Thank you, Taeyang, for seeing me dying and refusing to let tradition kill me, for showing me that honor can exist outside rigid rules. For being a bridge, you're welcome, though I was terrified the entire time. Fear and courage are not opposites. Courage is acting despite fear. You did that repeatedly. So did you. Choosing survival over tradition took courage too." Rin turned to face him fully. "I want to tell you something. When you opened my shalvara to repair it, I saw through your eyes for a moment. Felt what you felt. You were not trying to conquer or study or control. You were simply trying to help.